Good afternoon, everyone. This is Nitha Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show, back with another episode where all of us are fresh from the Super Bowl Sunday yesterday. What a game. Congrats to the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl yesterday. So I just want to get that out of the way. But before we introduce our special guest, I'm joined by my good friend, Julian Gallardi from Dugout Station. Go check out his stuff. He does really good baseball content. Actually, fans, he's heading out to Tampa tomorrow to cover the Yankee spring training team. So whoever is a Yankee fan, go follow Julian. He's gonna be get some in-depth coverage for the Yankees prospects. So can't wait for that. But
thank you.
No problem. And today's guest, the one and only Brandon Steiner. Everybody knows him. He is a author, motivational speaker. He is the CEO of Steiner Agency and CollectibleXChange. He does a lot of stuff with multiple athletes, not only baseball, basketball, football, everybody. He's all over the sports world. And man, go check him out. He does a great job. And we're really looking forward to hearing more about your story, Brandon. And obviously, we were covering the Aaron Boone event last week, and I didn't realize you were there, so that's why I wanted to connect with you and learn more about you. But Brandon Steiner, thank you for joining the show, and fans, please tune in on our podcast platforms. We're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker. But Brandon Steiner, thank you, and welcome to the show. And how are you and your family doing today?
Thanks for having me. And I have to steal that intro. That's a good intro. Solid. Appreciate that, man. It's hard, like me do an intro for Steiner, then I'm not with Steiner anymore. Mm-hmm. It's painful, like, to have lost my name, and I won't get into all that. But anyway, CollectibleXChange is my new venue and platform. I love Steiner. It was a great company, but I love this new platform even more than I love that, because it really is helpful to fans and collectors and sports fans, because it gives them an opportunity to trade, sell, buy, auction. And we have we have 3 times as many items on CollectibleXChange as we ever did at Steiner. So extremely grateful to everybody that's been putting their stuff up on our site to sell or going there to buy. But I'm going after eBay's business. I really feel like they haven't done a great job with their marketplace. Mm-hmm. So why not go after the 4th largest website in the world? And I'm just going after their collectible card part of their business. I'm not going after they're too big. But it's been fun. I mean, I'm 3 years into this new venture. It's been a wild journey, and I'm such a serial entrepreneur. And I try to tell everybody, if you're listening out there, to follow your dreams and turn up the volume on your curiosity, turn up the volume on your commitment to try different things, and you'll find purpose, passion, and all those other things around the bend.
All right.
I'm an open book. You can ask me anything, and happy to talk about anything that's going to help your listeners and give me some insight to sports, collectibles, sports marketing, or anything for that matter.
Okay. Julie, you want to start off?
Yeah, so I met Brandon at the Pinstripe Pride event. It was a fun event, a bunch of Yankees signing, current, past, and a lot of legends walked through that day, including the signer himself. So that was a nice interaction. So I'm going to ask you with that, what is some of the most memorable interactions you've had with the players? They're like someone that stands out to you, maybe.
I mean, I think, so many, 30 million autographs I've secured, and wow. I mean, many thousands of appearances. I mean, thousands of appearances that every legend you can imagine, from Mickey Mantle to Johnny Unitas to Joe Namath. I mean, you name it. But I think one of my first outrageous, and maybe my best outrageous memory, and there are so many, but Muhammad Ali. Wow. The first time I met Muhammad, and I'd signed Muhammad for about 5 years, so I met him a bunch of times. And what I loved is that, first of all, the fact that he even remembered me and had a relationship with me is outrageous. But the first time I met him, a friend of mine was doing a signing with him. And right before I got into the autograph business, I was just on the sports marketing business back in the mid-'90s. And he goes, "Can you help me for 2 days? I got these signings with Muhammad Ali, and I need help." So I scavenged up like 10 items to have Muhammad sign. I helped Muhammad for the day. Wow. I actually literally spent that, you put me in a room with an athlete, I'm going to interview him, find everything that made him great. And that was like, I knew that was just pure gold, that I get to spend a day with one of the greatest of the greatest and hear what he had to say. And at that time, he still was fluent with it, being able to talk to him and have conversations. He had the Parkinson's, but very early stages. So I was able to have a really good time with him. and kind of get a little bit underneath his skin to find out what made him tick. So that was amazing. And I'll never forget that. The other thing was like, I was known to put a lot of team projects together because that's what fans and collectors always had a hard time. If you had a favorite team, it was always hard to get 20, 30 guys together in one weekend to get your items done or get something really cool to meet this team that was like, and the first team that I was really close with, believe it or not, because most people think it's the Yankees, but it was really the '86 Giants. I was friendly with Lawrence Taylor. Joe Morris was my roommate, was a fullback at Syracuse for Joe Morris, who was a star running back. So I was friendly with Joe and friendly with LT very early on. So I brought 45 guys together for that. That was amazing.
Wow.
In 1996, it was the first time I put a whole team together like that. And I remember that moment because just the guys were fighting and, guys got cut because of other guys. And it wasn't all harmonious as I thought it was going to be. There was definitely there was a lot of inner stuff going on there that I had no idea was going to come, that you don't really know about a team unless you're on the inside. But I think that was a great, great experience for me because it led to me doing a lot of themes as I moved into the collectible business. One of the things that really put me on the map is not only signing individual players, because at one point I had almost 70 players, 70 under contract.
Wow.
But it made me go into themes and doing things that nobody could really do on their own easily. So you see some of those themes now, but, putting all the no-hitter pitchers together, putting all the rookie of the years together, all the MVPs together. And that really started continuity in collecting. I was always looking to, grow the business, be a pathfinder, think about what's next for collectors that would keep them excited and have them look forward to the next signing, as opposed to just collecting anything. And that was all kind of part of building not only my business at that time, but also building the industry up that a lot of people now see it as it is. But there was a lot of that kind of stuff laid down. And I think, when you're leading, if you want to lead an industry, and this is the thing you see the great leaders, or the great companies that are leaders, they're always thinking about next and always have the view of down way ahead that we can't see. And, a pathfinder or a leader really has the ability to see what a lot of other people can't even see, can't even imagine. And that's what makes a company great and have the ability for a company to lead the way. I think when you want to be the best in a particular category, if you're not going to be a futuristic thinker and a little bit of a risk taker, then you're probably not going to stay a leader of that category for long. And it's a responsibility that comes along with the money and the profit and the ego, but it's responsibility that means you have to start doing things that don't always necessarily help you, but help the industry and help the overall. You got to be into the overall progress more than into your own individual progress, which I think a lot of people struggle when their companies start doing well, is that obligation of, you're a leader in an industry, you have market share. So as the market gets bigger, you're automatically benefiting, but so is other people. And you need those other people as well to do better so that your industry that you're in can grow. And hopefully that makes sense. But, to me, I was always that kind of leader. I always felt the responsibility to make the industry better than when I found it and help, whether it be collecting or sports marketing, coming up with ideas and different schemes that would get fans, ultimately the customers, more excited about it, and also even help my competitors, believe it or not.
Well, so speaking of the '86 Giants team, I did last weekend. I did an event with Lawrence Taylor and Leonard Marshall in Freehold, and we're good friends with Leonard Marshall. He lives, actually, funny story. Leonard Marshall lives in our neighborhood, and that's how we became good friends. And what's it like working with Lawrence Taylor? Obviously, a legend on the field, but off the field, he's a great. I saw firsthand. It was great with the fans, interacting with them during that event. And what's Lawrence Taylor like off the field that people don't know about?
Well, first of all, I love Leonard Marshall.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a great relationship with Leonard. Leonard had this little red sports car. The dude was like 280, huge. And he had this little red midget sports car that I'm like, how is this guy fitting? I remember we were going somewhere. How is this dude fitting in the car? But Leonard was just a ball of energy, never said no to a charity event. He was what being a professional football player was about, Leonard, off the field, doing so much for charity, so much for community, building a brand. And it's difficult. Like when you play with a Carl Banks, you play with a Lawrence Taylor, those names pop out. and a lot of people don't realize how great a player Leonard Marshall was.
Yep.
And he was a great player. You know, he played at a great college, LSU. I mean, he was the real deal. Just my 2 cents on Leonard. But with Lawrence, what people don't realize, and you know, I got an opportunity to work with Lawrence Louis from his rookie year, even before I got in the business. So I know Lawrence as a friend before I got into the business. And he's definitely a much better friend than he is a business partner. He gets very ornery about the business. But there's a couple of things about Lawrence. First of all, he's a great teammate. He never big times his teammates. He always showed up for his teammates, always helped his teammates. No questions. You never see a teammate say a bad word about Lawrence Taylor. Besides being such a great player and a gamer, he was extremely generous with his time off the field. Another guy that, even when I was really starting out, Lawrence showed up at so many charity events, things that I couldn't even pay him to do. But we don't realize, like, first of all, Lawrence is a very bright guy. And he had his problems with drug addiction and different things like that, but he's an extremely intelligent guy, and then obviously an incredibly intelligent football player. But you know, he's smart. He's not, you know, he's not a typical, if you have a typical stereotype of a jock, he's not that. And he's a lot of fun. He's extremely loyal friend, way above and beyond what most people are. His loyalty to friendship and the people that he likes are amazing. And we had a lot of fun with Lawrence, just on some regular nights. But even though, and you got to remember, in the 80s, he was as big as Michael Jordan. You know, the guy, and he never acted like a big time, you know, I'm this, I'm that. He was extremely down to earth in that regard. I wish, you know, of all players, there's only 2 players I wish I had a do-over with. You know, I wish I could go back in time and fix them, because they were like, one's Lawrence Taylor. Like, Lawrence could in every way be comparable to a Michael Jordan. That's how great he was, and he had the personality and the nerve and the balls to be that off the field. Maybe even better than Jordan. That's how much of a personality. I mean, I bring Lawrence there to speaking engagements in corporate environments. He killed it. He had the ability to do so many things, even off the field. I know he gave it a try even on TV, but I wish that, you know, if I knew what I know now back then, I wish I could have been able to mold him into even possibly even something bigger and better. And then Darryl Strawberry is another one too, another amazing person that was destined for the Hall of Fame. Darryl was at my bachelor party, another one that I met in the mid-'80s. Darryl was a friend, and I marketed Darryl early on and was a good friend. He's always been loyal to me. And it just shows you sometimes good people just, you know, bad things do happen to good people. You know, you meet the wrong people, you get caught up in drugs, alcohol, and they're not all bad people. Like Lawrence and Darryl were really good people that got caught up in some bad crap, but they are good guys. And it's why they get the second chances and third chances. And Darryl, first of all, amazing off the field. I mean, just to know Darryl, you love him. And then secondly, he had the talent on the field to be one of the greats. I mean, he just had amazing talent. That we missed out on some of it. But as a New Yorker, being 60 years old, we saw a lot of it too.
Wow.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to another New York icon. This is someone that really stands out to me. What was it like interacting with Mickey Mantle? He may have got frozen.
You know, Mickey was another guy that, first of all, an amazing teammate. Amazing teammate. I mean, I call up Mickey to do something. He's like, give me a little less money. You got to bring my 2 teammates in and pay them. Who does that? Nobody. Anyway, Mickey took a liking to me. I was very fortunate. My office was 3 blocks from Mickey Mantle's restaurant. So whenever you go there, and he'd always come to my events that I threw. I threw a lot of parties and events back in the late 80s, early 90s, something I was into. And LT would show up, Mantle would show up. There were nights we had all those guys there, which is unbelievable. But if Mickey liked you, that, you know, there's nothing he would do for you. And I was very fortunate. He's one of my idols growing up. And the fact that the guy would go out of his way for me and like me and do some things for me, I'm extremely grateful for. And I was able to do a bunch of things with him and get to know him a little bit. And he was a lot of fun too.
Wow. Yeah, so for you, obviously you're connected with a lot of athletes, and what does it mean to you for them to remember you throughout your whole career, and mention when players mention like like when players mention your name, but what does that mean to you? How does that feel when they remember you like that?
I mean, listen, I understand the order of things. I mean, these guys are not my best friends. I have relationships with them. I think there's a respect, which I appreciate. The respect that I understand how to brand build. I've understood the right way to treat them and make them money and give them additional income and bring them closer to the fans. Like what people don't realize, like it's nice, I've had all these players and these experiences, but to get started, I mean, I was doing fan mail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way I got really close to Lawrence is he was sitting with like 50 boxes of fan mail, literally.
Wow.
And he felt guilty about throwing it away because he's never going to get to it. And it was just piling up. I said, I'll take that. And I did Leonard Marshall, Carl Banks. I did a whole bunch of guys on the Yankees and a bunch of guys on the Knicks. And I literally, for almost 6 months, all I do is sit there and open up mail. And then I would take the important mail. That would give me a reason to go to the guy and talk to him about this important mail. Hopefully there's a couple appearances in there. I was just getting started, but that's how I developed a relationship with them because they appreciated me going through all that mail and all these letters to open up. So, obviously it's been an epic run, to be able to meet a lot of these players. But for me, the meeting the player is great. It's getting to know the player and seeing the secret to their sauce. And I urge anybody listening to this that if you should meet someone who's exceptional at what they do, the key is to get the secret to the sauce and how they became exceptional because it's all unique. Anybody who's become great at something is unique, and it's not easy to do it. Whatever you think of a player, it's not easy to be one of the best at something, whether it's the best mailman you ever saw, the best server, the best cook, the best taxi cab driver, the best player. It takes a unique type of talent. And I wanted to find that out. So when I was very early on a collector of those ingredients, I wanted to be one day really special and unique myself. And I took those ingredients and put them into play myself as I met the Starbacks and the Namaths. All these guys all had unique, regardless of their personas, they had unique characteristics to make them great. And my goal was to try to extend that out to the optics as far as brand building and doing the right things with them, hooking them up with marketing opportunities. And then ultimately, the thing that gives me the most respect, obviously, is what I did for the collectible business, having made many of these guys millions of dollars. That was fun. And that gave me a lot more time to spend with them. There's no shortcut to that.
So we've talked about a lot of great athletes, and the next one I'm going to bring up, I don't know if anyone's actually better at what they did than this guy, Mariano Rivera. So we love Rivera, obviously. I know you've done a lot of work with him, and he just seems like a great all-around person, and he loves giving back, it seems like.
He does. I mean, he's committed. I mean, I think he's a better person than he is a player.
Wow.
And more committed to his next career, even more committed than he was in being a Yankee, which is hard to imagine because I don't know anybody more into their craft than he was when he played. But helping others, I mean, he's taken it to a level that I never understood. And it's also inspired me to be more of a giver and more of a person who gets more involved with community projects. The thing I learned about Mariano is there is no such thing as a big game. He's somebody that, because I'll give you an example. Like I was in Tampa, I was watching a spring training game and I was going to meet him afterwards. And before you know it, in the fourth inning, he comes down, sits down next to me. Now, I'm not going to believe that's nothing. It's pretty freaking cool. I mean, Mariano, I'm watching a Yankee spring training game. He's sitting next to me and we're talking. I go, yo, I thought we were meeting after the game. He goes, no, I told Joe to put me in early because I know we got to go. And this way we get a head start. I said, well, it's just a spring training game. He goes, what are you talking about? I pitched last inning. 8 pitches. 1, 2, 3. I knocked those 3 guys out in a minute. I said, yeah, but it's just a spring training game. He goes, Brandon, bro. No. I pitched in spring training in the 3rd inning of a game the same way I pitched game 7 of the World Series.
Wow.
Same focus, same preparation. This way, when I get to the World Series, I'm pitching a big game in the 9th inning. I don't have to change anything. I never get on that mound ever unless I'm 100% completely focused and doing the best I can do. And this way, when I get into very intense, difficult situations that appears to be to others, I'm in the same place I was in March, pitching a spring training game. There's no such thing as a big game because what you're doing is every time you're disrespecting. I always tell my sales guys, like, if you have a big meeting today, what are you saying about all the other meetings? if today's a big day, all the other days not big. So, the fact that there's no such thing as a big game and how we approach things was extremely influential on me, because I like to think that I'm that way. I try to approach every customer, all deals, whether they're $1 or $1 million, the same way. I try to give as many people on any level that I'm dealing with the same ultimate respect, because somebody I'm maybe selling a $25 case, or I'm doing a small couple $1,000 appearance, in 3 years from now can end up hiring me to do $1 million appearance. So I take it all at the highest level of seriousness and everything I do, and I've learned that from Mariana.
Wow, what a story! That I like that story. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So speaking of, can you tell our fans what's it like being tell about your books that you have out, and also what's it like being a motivational speaker and obviously speaking to these kids or the youth or whatever, going to speaking engagements like you said before. So what's that been like for you, just to have a book out there, go speak to other people, and also having exchange? Let our fans know about all that.
Well, there's 2 times you're going to be really alone in your life. Once right before you die, and then the other time right before you go on stage for 800 people. I was always a good speaker. My mom taught me to speak at a really early age. At the age of 12, when I ran for 7th grade vice president, I won every election I ever ran for. My mother taught me how to speak. She was a public speaker when she was a kid, and women didn't always public speak.
Yeah.
I mean, for anybody out there, I'm half illiterate. I had a tremendous amount of trouble writing. Even still to this day, I always keep one of my assistants or people in my office that's a good writer, because I still to this day have trouble with the language. But I have written 3 books and 2,500 blogs later. So anybody out there that tells you what you can and can't do, just don't listen, because you can really do whatever it is you want. And, I've written 3 books, and I'm very proud of those 3 books. They're very unique as far as they're different. And it's very simple. My strategy in writing these books are for people that don't tend to like to read a lot of books, but they can grab the nuggets out of there and put them in play very easily. The first book I highly recommend for entrepreneurs, and if you're getting started building your brand, the business playbook. You got to have balls. Is how I took a business from 4,000 and made it into a $50 million business. And then living on purpose is, to make sure you put a plan in, because you are going to be successful. People always say, Brandon, do you ever think you're going to be this successful? I'm like, yeah. Why would I go into something thinking I was going to fail? I'm like, and I have failed on numerous occasions, but yeah, I expected a high expectation for myself. And I think what I failed to do was have a game plan after I became successful, like what I was going to do with that success. And I think that, you're so busy trying to figure out what school you're going to, what college, what's your first job, getting married, kids. You don't think about what it's going to be like when you're 40 or 50 and you have made a bunch of money and you have conquered a lot of your dreams. Like, what do you want to do towards the tail end of your life to leave a little bit of a legacy and make sure you've put back into the world some of what you've taken out? And I think the Living on Purpose book, my last book, kind of spells that out a little bit, talks a little bit about a different perspective. Again, trying to think ahead for a lot of people that have done well. That's a great book for your parents and people that are going in their 40s, the adjustments you got. In writing as much, but I'm about to maybe take on a new project for my 4th book that I think will be helpful. And well, stay tuned. We'll see how that goes.
So you've hit on a lot of marketing stuff, and one of my things I'm going to ask is, what would you say like the main standpoints of sports marketing? Like, how do you make content that appeals, and how do you know it's going to appeal to the masses?
Well, it's a great question, and I think the number one thing in all of marketing business is one about knowing your customer. And the way you know your customer is by increasing your common sense. And I think where a lot of people get caught up is with all the hype in sports. You get caught up in the players and all that. And where you need to get caught up is what people are thinking. So you need to increase your empathy, and empathy is putting yourself in someone else's shoes. The way I think about it as a marketer and the way I've been successful is really a lot of simple, basic stuff. First of all, telling the truth in my messages, realizing what is really what it is, not making it something it's not. And I think people can appreciate that if you follow me over the years. One of the strongest parts of my marketing strategies is telling the truth. You know, you got to have balls, like was a big campaign I put together But the truth of the matter is we had a lot of balls. We were overstocked on balls.
Mhm.
So I came up with a campaign and said, you got to have balls. But back to the concept is, the best way to figure out your marketing strategy is to try to get in other people's heads and increase your empathy by putting yourself in other people's shoes. So when you ever see me at a ball game, even at the Yankee event, I'm walking around, I'm trying to really see where these fans and where the customers are at, what they're wearing, what's moving them, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, where the emotional stuff is, where the disgust and frustration is. So you'll see me at a game, I'm always moving around. I always do a complete tour around the stadium. And that is just to understand and try to talk to as many people as I can to get a feel for where those people are at. Because there's what I think, which is at this point always going to be biased. If you're partners with the Yankees, or if you're partner with an Oswaldo Cabrera or an Aaron Boone, you're going to be biased. You think he's the greatest manager in the world. But you've got to be able to open yourself up and get yourself in other people's heads. And when you increase your empathy, what you're really doing is increasing your common sense. You take a high level of common sense, which is putting yourself in other people's heads, understanding what they're thinking, understanding what they're feeling, and you combine that very simply with the truth. The basic principle is stating the obvious, not trying to take something, making it into something it's not. And that's how you get to some really smart, kick-ass marketing. Because people go, hey, that guy's real.
Mhm.
Hey, that guy, some guy's pretty straightforward. Exactly. That's all people want. They just want the truth, which in these days is pretty hard to get. So I feel like such a huge advantage. And I never advertised, by the way, until I was in business for almost 15 years. Wow. 16 years. When in the mid 2000s, after I'd been open for almost 16, 17 years, I started doing some advertising, and very little. I never was a big advertiser. I was more of a PR, great events, and giving me an opportunity to talk to customers. If you've seen me throughout the years, I'm in front of my stores. I'm always meeting customers. You saw me at the Yankee show, talking to customers. I'm doing product research. I'm doing customer research, and I'm also doing my customers right by making myself available so that if they do have a problem or they have an opinion, they can express it. And I think that's what customers want. They want to know they're seen, and they want to know if they need to be heard. And it doesn't have to be on some social media page, but if they choose to go that way, people know me. I'm on my social media, and I'm answering that. I'm talking to those people, which most CEOs and people like myself don't do it. But I do it, and it's very simple. Connect. Get connected. Try to increase the value that you're providing your customer. And the only way you could do that is by listening to your customer and seeing them. Value, guys, is what you could do for they can't do for themselves. And the only way you can really do that is by understanding what your customers need. And then you figure out what they can't do. And if I could do that for them, they're going to get rid of me so quick, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well explained. Yep.
Well, thank you.
So there's a picture of you and a younger Derek Jeter. Obviously, you've been with Derek. You've been watching Derek Jeter's career stuff through thicks and thins, and started from a young age. And what's that been like for you, being with knowing Derek Jeter from the younger days, and also now seeing him? Yesterday he was made an appearance on the Super Bowl pregame show. Now he's working with MLB on Fox with A-Rod again as teammates on the Fox team. But what's it like being part of Jeter's career from the younger days to now, and now for him being on an analyst?
Well, first of all, I'm very grateful. He's a special character who's done a lot of special things, and is extremely hardworking on his game. Always cared about what fans thought, and cared about taking care of fans, and always understood and the importance of taking care of community with his Turn 2 Foundation. So it was a tremendous blessing to work with him and see the consistency of his focus and dedication to all those. He never wavered over the importance of his teammates, of his charity, stuff he had to do for Turn 2 and his family, making sure they were all together to make a difference. And, he was always extremely diligent and honest about making sure he did always the right thing in our partnership, and doing all these things that I'm sure he really didn't want to do, but he did it because he knew the fans would love it. And he knew that it was part of our partnership. And it really motivated me always to do extra and do as much as I can to help him above and beyond the lines, frankly. But, Derek's gone his own direction, so I'm not as involved these days over the last 3-4 years. He's done, I'm not exactly sure what his thinking is now. Obviously, he's got kids, he's got a family. He's obviously resetting, refiring on a bunch of different things. That some of it is amazing, some of it's surprising. I give him a lot of credit for the Marlins thing. I mean, I think it was extremely daunting, that opportunity to even do the deal and figure out a deal and to buy a team like the way he did. And it was not easy. You know, buying and owning a team is not easy.
No.
And that was an extremely difficult team to buy and fix. It wasn't like he took the Yankees or anything over. I mean, the Marlins were in a lot of trouble to begin with. And, you know, that was a starter upper. That was a fixer upper. So I give him a lot of credit for having the balls to jump into that and try to make that work. I know it was a dream of his. And I don't know if people realize how hard that situation was without getting into the detail. But I always think it's amazing when I see somebody go into a very uncomfortable, difficult situation with their eyes wide open. And I think that I wish more people would try and have that kind of thinking. So, you know, I wish him luck. Like I don't see him that much the last couple of years, but I've had a great 20-year run with him, and he was everything that was advertised, you know. And I think when you see the products we created and the stuff we did with him over the years, it was epic and it was amazing. I hope the fans appreciated it, because that ain't happening again. You know, not only with him, but it ain't ever happening again with a player of that level who was extremely generous to do a lot of those things. And a lot of big name players like that just won't do it. And it wasn't for the money, you know. So I you know, it was great. I mean, it was an amazing opportunity to work with a player of that level for that long a time, especially when you got Mariano, and obviously I've done a bunch with A-Rod and Pettit and all those guys. But you know, Derek was Derek. He always stood out and deserves all the credit and everything that he's gotten.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best at what he does. I'll say something on the surface about the Marlins. I mean, it just seems like he was restricted. Like, they didn't want to spend any money. Like, we know how the situation is with the ballpark and the fans. Like, it seems like there was going to be a tough road. Like, he definitely took on a big challenge there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the details. I just know that ballpark. Been down there a couple times. You know, it's a big undertaking. There was a lot of little problems that he walked into. There weren't minor little issues. There was a lot of issues they had to clean up, and even an experienced team owner would struggle with that.
Yeah,
getting that team back up. But we'll see. Again, sometimes you go through these processes, and then it lead to something that's bigger and better. And we'll see what happens with his career. It's tough, man. It's tough to beat.
Yeah.
It's tough to beat the 20 years he had. Like, how do you beat that?
I mean, know.
It's like epic. You know, I mean, when you think about the way he ran and the way he worked his biz, you know, it's like, how do you beat that? You know, and that's the tough part with a lot of these players that have epic careers and that are almost, you know, once in a lifetime. How do you go? Where do you go from there? You know, to have the same kind of feeling and jubilance. So it's not easy. Not to say we would all trade our chips in to be Derek Jeter. I mean, it's just amazing, but it's not easy. Like, when you finish a great career and then you got to reset and come up with something that's going to be challenging, as exciting you. You know, sitting around talking about what happened 20 years ago is not exciting to these guys. Like, they'll do it and they understand it's part of the deal. But I don't know if you want to sit around and talk about what happened 20 years every day, every time you walk down the street. Like, probably not. So these guys are no different, you know.
Well, what do you think about the current team going into spring training this year?
You know, I'm going to say this, and I'm a little biased, but first of all, I think Aaron Boone doesn't get the credit. Now, he's one of my guys, but I mean, I don't know if people realize, but it's not every day you get a clubhouse like the way he's got clubhouse these last few years. And it's not easy to win the amount of games he's won in his years. He's been the skipper. I mean, you know, he's been right around 100 games. I think it's 3 years already. And most skippers don't pull that off, even with the injuries and problems he's had. He's managed to keep a really tight knit team, and it's really hard to win. It's hard to get all the way down to the end. You see the Dodgers, the amount of money they've spent. There's a lot of teams that are exactly the same kind of money. They want to win too, and they haven't gone anywhere near as far as the Yankees have. So I love the Yankees. I don't need them to win a World Series to be good. I just want to say that. Like, I don't know where all that comes from. Like, we don't win a World Series, a waste of year. I don't. To me, I'll take last year every day. You know, be in a Final Four, have a Judge run, have that run the Yankees had the first part of the season. I think that was every bit worth every bit of the price of admission. And I think the Yankees should not feel one iota bad about what happened last year. Then obviously you want to go further, but I don't look at that year as a disappointing year whatsoever. I think it was an amazing year, especially with the amount of injuries and things that happened, which is just par for the course. I like this team. I mean, they still got to make a couple moves, but better to have a little too much than not have enough. So they got a few too many players. I'm not sure. Another thing. I'm a real big Cashman fan. Like I don't see there worrying, wondering if Cashman's going to do something. Like the dude is 24/7. Generally, most of his moves are great. You know, he's going to make some mistakes. Obviously, I mean, who can't? Who doesn't? Who's running a shutout when you're making those kind of business decisions based on talent you have no control over? So he's not perfect, but the guy is a tremendous general manager. And I think also we should really learn to be grateful and appreciate him, because this guy is an incredible worker. I've watched him from afar. I've watched him up close, and he's still got his work cut out. He has a bunch of things he's got to do in the next 3 or 4 weeks to get the team completely, right. Mm-hmm. And he will, like he always does. So they got to get the infield situation squared away. I wish. I'm a big fan of playing the kids, so I'm hoping it works out that way. I want to see Oswald, at shortstop. I love him, and I think people don't realize how good a talent he is. And obviously, I'm biased with Oswald Cabrera, who's one of my guys. This dude, first of all, I mean, you heard it here. I'm not going all over the place saying this, but I've never seen a kid work as hard as this kid works. And the attitude and the energy he brings in, special. Mm-hmm. Do not be surprised this kid lights it up, because everybody's focused on Stanton, DJ, Judge, and rightfully so, and Rizzo, rightfully so. Those are great players. They're not going to see this kid coming. We know he's a good fielder, but he also is a very good hitter. He's not I mean, everybody's struggling those playoffs for hitting. This is a very good hitter. And with being a lefty and a pinch hitter, I could see him taking advantage of that left field. I mean, that right field, that right field little soiree that we've all seen many players take advantage of. So I like this team. I mean, are the Blue Jays finally going to be the team that everybody says they're going to be? I don't know. I mean, they every year they pick the Blue Jays, but I mean, believe me, if the Blue Jays were here in New York, they'd be feathering these guys. They'd be killing these guys. Yeah. For the amount of disappointment that team has provided. And you can never count out Tampa Bay. And Boston will be, revving things up a little bit. So the division's never easy. But I think they have a very solid, deep team with a lot of camaraderie and a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. To see them not in the ALCS again this year would be surprising. But, what do I know?
Wow. Yes, we actually did an event with Oswaldo Cabrera with Frank Luna.
I get my charger.
We met Oswaldo Cabrera, and me and Julian and Frank Luna hosted the event.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, what a great!
Awesome. I was there.
Cabrera was awesome and amazing guy.
He was amazing.
Yeah, so
he's just a lot of fun. The fans already, after only being up 3-4 months, they love him.
Yeah,
I love him. He's one of the most fun kids I've had a chance to work with. He's so teachable and so available. The average player has to be at the ballpark, just so you know. And I think it's 4:15. So usually you get there 3:45, 3:30, 4 o'clock. Maybe even get there at 3 o'clock to do some stretching or certain things if something's bothering you. This cat's there at 12:30 every day.
Love that.
12:30.
Wow.
Probably learning all the positions.
I've never heard anybody go. I mean, I hear some coaches going to the ballpark at 12:30. I've never heard of a guy going every day 12:30. He's a workout gym rat. And that kind of attitude with some talent and the right attitude, personality, can't wait to see what he could do. Can't wait.
Same here. You can't wait either. But before we let you go, I'm sure you're busy, but can you tell our fans where they can find you on social media, and what do you guys
I have no idea where you can find me. My wife's been asking forever, but there's definitely maybe in the lost and found. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. Follow me on LinkedIn. I obviously have a huge Facebook following, Instagram following, so don't hesitate to go on those and check me out on that. I do post regularly on Facebook and Instagram, and LinkedIn is always my favorite because it's just easier to get into the business stuff and not all the bullshit, not all the selling and everything. But whatever strikes your fancy, and if you have something you want to sell or something you want to know what it's worth, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Happy to help you, and thank you for the support. Great to be on your program today.
Oh, thank you, Brandon Steiner. And let us know when you have another event. We can come out and help you guys out with your events, and then we do events also. So I'll let you know. You can come out to our events and help us out there too. So vice versa. But I want to say thank you for joining us, and it was an honor learning about your story, and some of the stories are amazing. And thank you to our fans for listening to this show today. And Julian, you want to promote yourself too for him?
Well,
Hey,
I'm
one
gonna-
quick thing. If you go to Collectible Exchange, I give away the book for free
Oh,
for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
So if you go to collectibleexchange.com, you can pick any of the 3 books up free. Just tell them you heard the show on this. You heard about me. You heard about the book on this show, and boom, you're all set. So just a little bit of an FYI.
Okay,
right,
I'll have to
fans.
take you up on that.
Yeah.
And I did connect with you on LinkedIn. I'm really thankful for the tips you gave as well. I'm definitely going to apply them into my business and everything. If you're going to be down at spring training or something, definitely let me know, because I'm going to be camped out there for a few weeks before early March hits. I'll do some quick promo, I guess. I mean, Dugout Stations or Twitter, it's Instagram, it's Facebook.
I'm down on the 23rd, March 23rd. I'll be down for the day. I got a couple meetings and stuff. So hopefully you'll see me then. And I'll see you at the ballpark too. I'll see anybody out there. Say hello at the ballpark. Love talking to you. Love learning about what you're into. So you know, it's always a learning process for me as I meet people and learn about different things and different views. So no different when I'm at the ballpark. I always look at that as my study time to understand, you know, the Yankee fan always a little better.
Yeah, so I'll try to catch you during the season. I'm not going to be at spring in March. And I just wanted to say my co-host is Sandy Molinaro. She does a great job with us too. Helps us do some Spanish interviews. Also, personal Julian Guardi 1 on Twitter, and Instagram's Julian Guardi 11. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Appreciate you, man. Have a good day. Thank you.
You too.